Good morning. Here we are at the end of the week and busy. Been a busy week. You take Monday and make it Memorial Day, and suddenly everything gets scrunched up the rest of the week, and lots to do. But it's good that we have a life. Sometimes when I get busy, I think of some of my good friends sitting in convalescent homes, not able to get up and around, and one health problem or another, and they're not able to get out. They're not able to go to church, go to family activities. And I think, you know what, just let me be busy. I'm not going to complain. And I love it. I love that I get to be busy for the Lord. I get to be busy for the people of God. And I'm thankful. But it's been a busy week. And I appreciate you, many of you who have been so involved in so much. Kindergarten graduation on Sunday, and then a 6th and 8th grade graduation on Wednesday, and then, of course, Saturday, our high school graduation. But before we get going in this, I want to mention, most of you, if you watch these regular, you're our friends, and you may or may not be on a mailing list. But if you aren't on a mailing list, give a call or send a text. And we have a flyer about things that are going on in August for our 40th anniversary. And just to let you know what's going on, if you just pray. If you're out of the area, if you're in the area, you want to come by and join us for something, we have several guest speakers coming in, and Brother Alan Domley is going to be preaching for a Monday, Tuesday. Kevin and Loretta Walker are going to be with us on a Saturday, Sunday. Dr. Bob Gray Sr., he'll be with us on a Monday, Tuesday. And in any case, just there's some special plans. One Saturday we have a special picnic planned for our anniversary, and we don't have any one. We have that Saturday, Sunday, probably the day of the picnic. You'd have to get a calendar. I don't have it in front of me. That would be the official anniversary weekend. But we don't really have an official anniversary weekend because we have people coming and going, and college students, and so just throughout the month of August, where we have different things going on, and we just want to be able to meet people and talk to people. If you're going to be in the area and you like to share a blessing, we love written ones. If you're not going to be in the area, you want to send a text or an email of just what God did for you through some favorite Sunday school teacher or something that happened, and we'd love that. We'd love to share that with our congregation, and we'll be doing that throughout the month of August. And if you're here, be a great thing to be able to have you share a quick testimony of what God's done in your life, and God's been good beyond words, just good. And I love what He's let us do and let us be a part of. And just a quick, I'll be in Psalms 101 in a minute. But before we get there, I just want to say a quick word about the situation right now, politics and government and all that. So first of all, Jesus never tried to overthrow the government. He didn't go along with it. He didn't buy into it. He didn't treat them like they were anybody at all. At one point he was warned about some leader saying, Herod said, I'm going to kill you next time I see you. And Jesus said, go tell that old fox, I'm going to be doing this, this, and this. Basically tell him to give it his best shot. And another time, one of the rulers said, don't you know I have power to release you or power to crucify you? And Jesus said, you have no power at all, except that was given you from above. Now, you can't do one thing that God doesn't allow you to do. And so I'm not saying that Jesus bowed down and worshiped the earthly authorities, but he didn't make a big deal about government. Neither did the Apostle Paul. He had his run-ins. He ignored them. He got thrown in jail. He had some conflict with religious leaders and conflict with political leaders. But the big thing they spent their life doing was preaching the gospel and getting people saved. Let me explain something. You're not going to right all the wrongs, and you're not going to get everybody to be good because everybody's already bad. And we're not going to fix government because government, by its very nature and essence, is a taking machine. It's a all-consuming monster. And the more authority you give the government, the more authority they want. And so, but all that being said, I saw a headline, Australia is relaxing restrictions. I don't care if Australia gives up every restriction they have on people. They're wrong and they're bad, and that government needs to be fixed. And I don't care what airlines do or cities or states or schools do. in America. The fact that this government mandated and demanded that the citizens do certain things, that's wrong. And if they quit requiring it, that's not a cure. It just means we're at a recess and they can start in again requiring it whenever they want. And we need to make some decisions as citizens. And again, there's election times coming up and you can vote however you choose. But I think we ought to consider the fact that we're in this world of permission. We're going to let you take your masks off. We're going to let you go to school. We're going to let you have your own way in your kids' education. Somebody better wake up. And again, those of us that are, I'm 65 right now, those of us 65 and up, hey, we're on our way out. We know where we're going. Everything's all right for us. But you that are younger and us, that we that have children and grandchildren, it's the next generations that are going to suffer. So don't get thinking everything's okay simply because some government entity quit doing what they were doing. Until they are powerless to do it again, the problem is not solved. And it's a mess. And don't think it's not a mess. And I believe government is always going to be a mess because that's what governments do. The thing a government knows best how to do is to take from the citizens. And that's not how our government was designed. It was designed we are a representative government, and our representatives are to be doing in Washington or wherever they are, Sacramento, to represent us, what we want. It doesn't matter what they want. They're to represent us. And boy, we have not seen that in a long time in America. So anyway, don't get excited because the government's letting up. It's just like your big brother's got you, he's sitting on you and slapping you and tickling you or whatever, and he stops for a minute. Nothing's fixed. He's still the big brother, and it ain't going to stop until you get a big stick. My mom said when I was, little, my brother kept picking on me. One day he's watching TV, and again, I'm 2, he's 4, whatever. And she said I came up behind him with a little kiddie chair and busted it over his head. We're going to fix the problem. And I don't know what we do to fix government, short of go to God and beg God for help. But don't get thrilled. Everything's going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. Not as long as government has this power. And it'll happen again. But don't be discouraged because God knows what's going on. If the churches would seek God, seek holiness, love the Bible, teach and preach the Word of God, we would begin influencing government. If Christian people quit putting their kids in secular schools, and I mean the public schools from kindergarten to 12th grade and then secular colleges, if we quit putting our kids in places where they're teaching our kids stupid things, then our kids would stop being stupid. And if you took all the Christian families and got them decent education instead of stupid education, we would begin to turn this nation. But anyway, if we don't turn it, you know what? We win. God's people win. We're in great shape. And so don't fret. Some of you that watch too much news, and by the way, shut off. If the news is bothering you, if Facebook is bothering you, things people are saying, well, stop reading it. No one's making you read it. No one's making you turn that TV on and watch the sewer networks. That's your choice. I don't watch any news, maybe 5 minutes a week at the most. I get written news and I can see headlines and I can pick and choose which headlines I want because I don't want to give them my head. In order to find out what really happened, I've got to listen to all their talk and all their nonsense. I don't want to listen. I don't want to give them my head. They're a bunch of crazies and they're un-American and they're ungodly and I'm not giving them my head. But anyway, you do what you want. And that's what's great about being a Christian. God gives us great liberty. Over in Psalms 101, and again, you've heard me talk about this. I've got a little booklet I'm putting together on it. But in Psalms 101, we see 2 simple rules about what we should be watching and getting around. If you look at Psalms 101, verse 3, it says, I will set no wicked thing before mine eyes. I hate the work of them that turn aside. It shall not cleave to me. I will set no wicked thing before my eyes. I hate the work of them that turn to the quitters, the people who change, the people who drift off. I hate that. I hate that whole idea. I'm going to stay straight. I'm going to stay true. I'm an old-fashioned, Bible-believing American. And I love our country, and I love what we have in America. And I'm not going to quit. I don't love what America is today. I love our roots. I love our foundation. I love our Constitution. And I love my church. I'm not going to quit loving my church. I'm not going to quit loving my friends. I'm not going to turn aside. But in verse 3, I'll set no wicked thing before mine eyes. Then in verse 6, mine eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land, that they may dwell with me. He that walketh in a perfect way, he shall serve me. My eyes shall be upon the faithful of the land. There's two things here. In verse 3, I'll set no wicked thing before mine eyes. In verse 6, my eyes, they're going to be on the faithful. I'm going to watch the faithful. I'm going to learn from the faithful. I'm going to hang around the faithful. I'm going to be friends with the faithful. But I'm not going to look at wicked things. I'm not going to listen to wicked things. I'm going to be clean. Now you just think about the mess that we're in because of our eyes. And you look at this thing. Eve ate the forbidden fruit because she looked at it. She saw, and she saw that it looked good and it would make her wise. Boy, she looked. And it's a reality. Our eyes, Lamentations 3, verse 20, I think it is, mine eye affecteth my heart. Mine eye affecteth my heart. Now, Bible-believing people, and look, the unsaved people, they don't know any better. But you're a Bible-reading, Sunday school going, you're saved, you believe the things of God. We can't park ourselves in front of the television and not believe it's going to affect us or our children. It has to. Proverbs 23:7 says, as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Those things you look at, those things you think about, those things you meditate on. And I have harped on this lately, but it's going to be harped on more. Over here to Psalms chapter 119, Psalms 119, and down at verse 37. If you're looking with me, you that are driving, don't look at it. I'll read it for you. Psalms 119:37. Turn away mine eyes from beholding vanity. Turn away mine eyes. He said, I'm not going to look at wicked things. I will look at the faithful of the land and turn my eyes away from beholding vanity, the vain, the empty, the foolish. God, deliver me. Help me keep my eyes off of this garbage in this world. You know, in Matthew 6, verse 23, he says, if thine eye be evil, thy whole body is full of darkness. But if the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? You know, you can set your eyes on things that are dark and things that are evil, and it becomes inside you. This darkness, this evil, and it's a powerful thing. You know, we're warned so much about our meditations. I'm surprised how few people really pay attention to what they look at and listen to and read. I'm surprised at the preachers who let all kinds of things come in. And I remember many, many years ago, a guy mentioned a book on the home. And he said, have you read that? I said, no, I've never read anything that guy wrote. And he said, well, that's a good book on the home. I said, that guy doesn't believe this, this, and this, and this. And he said, yeah, but there's some good stuff in that book. And I said, I'm not going to eat a steak out of a garbage can. I don't know. There's all kinds of good places. It was talk about the home. There's all kinds of good places to get information on a Christian home. I was a young married man at the time. I don't need to go to a wrong place to try and get information. I'm not so smart I can always sift out these things. Now, our eyes are so powerful. And that's why our young people are seeing screens. We have got screens in kids from 2 years old right on up. Go to a restaurant, see how many screens people are looking at. Go to a park where kids are supposed to be on the swings and playing. They're sitting on a bench or a swing, playing a video game or looking at Facebook or Instagram or whatever it might be. Go to schools. Young people they've given their mind. Now, I think biologically, the electronics in the head, the eyes, all this, I don't think screens are good. I think that much screen is not good for you biologically, certainly not a developing young person. But you know what? There are things you're not supposed to look at. The world knows there's things that a kid shouldn't look at. And why? Because what we see affects us. I say, oh, no, it doesn't affect us. Then why do they spend millions of dollars on Super Bowl commercials? Why are there billboards up and down our freeways? You know, every other billboard, some attorney, some crook trying to use you to get him rich. And up and down the the roads, billboards, advertising, whatever. Why do people put big signs up? Because what we see affects us. What we look at affects us. Don't pretend it doesn't. And you that are married, you know there are things that a lady could wear. What's a personal bridal shower all about? It's about eyes. It's about seeing. Our eyes do affect us. And how foolish we are. Remember Samson in Judges? Samson saw this girl, went to his parents and said, "Get me this girl." He hadn't even spoken to her. It was all just what he saw. Remember David up on the rooftop at the time when kings go forth to war. He saw Bathsheba. And on the stories go. Achan ruined, destroyed his family. Why? Because Achan saw a Babylonish garment and he saw the gold pieces and he coveted them. And what a mess. You know, over in there's a great verse in Numbers chapter 33. Numbers chapter 33. And let me just say, look, summer's coming. Super Bowl, when it comes, don't be surprised there's garbage in the Super Bowl halftime. It's assumed now. It's assumed it will be immoral and indiscreet. People know it. If you're going to watch the Super Bowl, shut off the halftime unless you want to put filth in front of your kids. You say, well, maybe it won't be filthy. It's the track record. You're better off missing good than watching filth. And it's just, look, you go to the beach, you're going to see girls wearing way too little, running around, flaunting way too much in indiscreet and inappropriate situations. And someone says, well, I just don't see that it makes any difference. Then why do we make people wear clothes? You know the difference between civilization and primitive? One of the big differences is clothing. Civilized people wear clothes, but for some reason you put sand and water and sun, and now you don't need to be civilized, don't need to wear clothing. Look, you know, and I'm a beach person. I love the ocean. I love swimming in the ocean. I love snorkeling. I love waves and body surfing and all that kind of stuff. Grew up in the ocean. But you know what? When our kids were growing up and we'd go to the beach, I'd go on a weekday. I'd go to a beach where no one's around. We'd find isolated places to go. I had my son. I was preaching in Hawaii. I had my son with me. And when I was only preaching nights, days were free. And so I found a beach where we could go, and we had to climb over a bunch of rocks and get around, but we found a place to snorkel and a place to go where we weren't near a beach full of inappropriately dressed people. Why? Because our eyes affect our heart. It's just as simple as that, and any honest person knows it. And it's just a reality. Don't be surprised if you go to the public pool that girls are dressed inappropriately. And you say, well, what difference does it make? You're not a male that's saying that. Any guy with any masculinity, any male hormones left in him knows that seeing a girl does make a difference. Otherwise, they wouldn't advertise with bikinis and things so much. Everybody that's honest knows clothing does affect, and it affects the heart of the observer. And it's cars, it's clothes, it's glasses, it's phones, it's shoes. When someone looks at my shoes, I want them to think I'm somebody because I got these shoes. I remember years ago, one of our young men they were on a trip and he had some money and he got in this spot and there were these incredibly unusual shoes and they were going to wow people. And he spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a pair of shoes. They're just shoes. They're just shoes. But you know, why do people do that? Because what we see affects our thinking. You see a guy pull up in a Porsche convertible and he's dressed in expensive clothes and he's a good-looking guy. And a girl thinks, oh, I'd like to be around him. Well, he could be a drug addict or a drug pusher. He could have 7 wives and 3 girlfriends and 5 boyfriends. Who knows what that guy is? It's just a car and clothing and facial structure, but our eyes do affect us. We are all that way. Otherwise, you gals wouldn't put putty on to cover the wrinkles and you wouldn't color your hair and you wouldn't use a curling iron. Why do we do those things? Because it does matter what we see, and what we see does affect us. And the Lord, back in the days when Samuel was trying to anoint a king, he saw the older brother of David, Eliab, and he said, oh, that's the one. And God said, don't look at him because I'm looking at the heart. And God says, man looks on the outward appearance. He made a statement, men look on the outward appearance. The outside matters. People wouldn't worry about diets. People wouldn't worry about their clothes fitting just right. What we see does matter. Why do we wash a car? Why do we want a nicer car? My paint's oxidizing on my truck, or the finish coat isn't, and I'm gonna maybe one of these days gonna get it painted. Why? Because it does matter what things look like, and I'm not living for expensive things. People look and people get impressions, and it does make a difference. But over there in the book of Numbers, and so back to where it began. In Psalm 101, he said, I don't want to set any wicked thing before mine eyes. And then he said, my eyes are going to be on the faithful of the land. And then later in Psalm 119, he said, Lord, turn away mine eyes from the evil. That ought to be our desire. Keep my eyes clean. Keep my eyes clean. Bob Jones Sr. said, behind every tragedy in human conduct lies a process of wicked thinking. And that wicked thinking has got those mental pictures that were probably grabbed in a world out there. What people see or what people don't see, they don't steal. And one of the things in my philosophy class, I teach junior and seniors a couple of hours a week during the second semester. And one of the things I taught them, they're going to be going off to college, they're going to be working nights. What makes you more vulnerable? What makes you more attractive to a mugger, to someone that's going to rob you? And there's a list of things. Being alone, being distracted, looking at your phone, having earbuds or earphones in there, flashing money, having a nice watch, having a piece of luggage like you just got dropped off by a cab. And these are all things people in jail told the interviewer that they would look for if they were going to mug somebody. What people see matters. So you ask the kids in the class, what could you do to keep from getting mugged? Don't flash your cash. Don't wear a fancy watch that's visible. There's a whole long list of them. The kids know it. And because what we see does matter. Now, with all that in mind, over in Numbers chapter 33, he's talking about Moses telling the people, you're going to conquer the land of Israel. You're going into the land of Canaan. These are the people of God. And they're going into these nations that God has passed judgment on. God's given them every chance he could give them, and they will not turn from their evil and all their corruption. And God says, okay, I'm done with you guys. You're all going to die. And you can agree with that or not, but he's God. But notice what he said down in verse 52. Numbers 33:52. Then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you. And look at this, destroy all their pictures. Destroy all their molten images. Those would be little deities and gods. And quite pluck down all their high places. Destroy all their pictures. Hey, what pictures do you let your kids look at? What pictures are on the wall of your kid's room? What pictures are on the wall of the garage? He says, I want you to destroy the pictures. The world out there, they're going to have pictures that the people of God should not have. Destroy all their pictures and destroy all their molten images. There are things that the world thinks is the most important thing in the world. God says, get rid of it. Don't look at it. God says, I don't want you looking at those things, because the things you look at from the Garden of Eden on, the things you look at are going to influence who you are and what you do, and you don't want to be bad. And if you're going to be clean, you're going to have to start with the eyes and the ears and the head. And be very careful. In this summertime, be careful. We water skied. We used wave runners. We went out on lakes fishing and swimming. And I've taken my kids. My kids have, we'll go up to Lake Shasta where my in-laws lived, and my home church up there, Pastor Blue's in heaven now. That was his church in Redding, California. Good friend of ours, Mike Johnson. We'd rent a boat or borrow a boat. We'd be out at the lake. But we'd get far from everybody else. And we'd be in the water swimming. We might rent a ski boat or borrow a ski boat and water ski. Say, what'd you wear? We wore, you won't even believe it, we wore clothes. It's amazing that you can do most anything in clothes. A bunch of freaks. But you know what? It's up to what our eyes see that affects our heart. And I'm for fun. And my kids we've been at the beach over and over, and we've been in Hawaii. We had a chance to go to Hawaii with the whole family one time, and we were early. Got the 3-hour time difference. We were out in the water at 5, 6 in the morning, nobody around swimming. Yeah, why? Because we were away from people and we were up early. We're early risers anyway, and then you got a 3-hour time or 2 or 3 hour, whatever the time difference is to Hawaii. And man, if you're gonna keep you clean, you better guard your eyes. And if you're gonna have your family stay clean, you better keep an eye on what your kids are watching. And you better know what's on those video games. I'd say get rid of all of them. Get them a shovel and a bicycle and a tennis racket and a basketball hoop. Get them a hoe and get them to pull weeds. But let's be very careful. Mine eye affecteth my heart.